When's the last time you had one of these bad boys? Cadbury Caramilk bar. It's something that when I was younger at Halloween time, I would trade anything for. It was absolutely delicious. What I found really interesting when I picked this up is right away you see that it's listed as candy. For a long period of time, Caramilk used to be called a chocolate bar. So for whoever doesn't know about Caramilk, they had one of the best marketing campaigns, I think, ever, at least for me, in terms of chocolate bars or candy bars. It was, how do you get that caramel into the Caramilk bar? It was just wonderful. It was so fun to watch, super, super creative. Like, hats off to whoever had come up with that. And honestly, I probably thought forever, like, how do they do that? Like, I have no idea. Obviously, being a chocolate maker now, you realize it's not the most complicated of things, but just allow your mind to wander as a kid especially. I'd like to just run down the ingredients that we have in the Caramilk and what they do from a manufacturer's perspective, and then what they might contribute to you as a consumer or the end enjoyer. So we have sugars as the #1 ingredient. So that in brackets is sugar and glucose syrup. The glucose syrup most likely for the caramel itself. Milk ingredients, modified palm oil, unsweetened chocolate, modified vegetable oil, cocoa butter, salt, soy lecithin, baking soda, calcium chloride, natural and artificial flavors. So I guess just off the top, I did talk prior about natural and artificial flavors and what natural means and what artificial means. Natural really is it's derived from a natural source. Artificial is synthetic, it's lab. So I mean, when you see artificial, I question that far more than natural, but they are very blanket terms. So they don't tell you what they're using for the flavor specifically. It's always a weird one for me to see that in any ingredient, or as in any ingredient. The one that stood out to me most, and I didn't actually have a lot of insight into until somewhat recently, is modified palm oil. So I understand palm oil, and the last video I actually did, I talked about how palm oil contributes to deforestation, and there is a lot of forced labor within that world. And from that video, I actually had a few other conversations with people a little more on the ground in regards to palm oil. One gentleman, he's from Colombia, had mentioned how palm oil is actually benefited certain areas where they are savannas, so they plant palm trees, and it's allowed them to have that other industry as well. So that was really fascinating to learn. But what is modified palm oil? And that's when I started doing a little more reading and brought my little clipboard just for some quick notes here. So modified palm oil is done through a process called hydrogenation. It is a chemical process. It is not a natural process. And for me, that's a big question mark. So back in 2010, Cadbury got a lot of flack for changing the recipe. And they actually added in this modified palm oil. So they changed, for the most part, from a chocolate bar to a candy bar. When you start adding in modified palm oil, you can no longer call it a chocolate bar. And the reason is because there is such a thing as cocoa butter substitute. So I had mentioned it prior again, cocoa butter in any chocolate recipe is the most costly thing as an ingredient. So if you can find ways to reduce the amount of cocoa butter in your recipe, you're going to have a pretty strong cost savings and your margins are going to grow back further. So they sacrificed the name of chocolate for candy and added in this palm kernel oil. And I'm conflicted about it because if I'm to look at their candy bar, you begin to associate Cadbury and Caramilk as a chocolate bar, and it is such strong brand recognition over time. They, in a sense, are very fortunate to capitalize on that, and if it says chocolate or candy, I'm not even looking there. I'm just looking at the brand here. Okay, I know it's Caramilk, yummy, yummy, let's eat it. But there's a lot of other really small things that change over time, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So let's give this a taste. I haven't had this in some time, and I'm sure, you know, as our son gets older and he starts trick-or-treating, maybe I'll sneak a few of his, but it's been a while. Similar to the Mr. Beast, the Feastables chocolate that I made, there is a very interesting kind of gray color to this. And I don't know if it's just the modified palm oil. I'm not really sure what that has to do with it, but it doesn't have a nice brown. It's kind of a weird gray brown. So I am curious about the caramel in here. Like I said, it's been a while. What I really like is that they are in the individual pockets. At least so it seems. I was trying to break one open so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm dealing with here, but oh yeah, it's nice and gooey. Has a nice little string to it, you know. When I think of caramel, I think of sugar, whipping cream, butter, and salt. And what I didn't see in that was whipping cream, butter, or salt. So I'd be curious, is it just the glucose that makes their caramel? I mean, they do have a few other ingredients there. I guess they have baking soda, calcium chloride. Maybe it's and most likely actually, it's the natural or artificial flavors that are contributing to the actual flavor of caramel. I do not believe they went through the process of making a caramel. That's just me. If anyone has any insight, please let me know. So I want to try a little bit of this, see what we're up against. Very soft. The shell is very soft. It's sweet. I think that will be a common thread in all these videos. There's not much of a flavor difference between the chocolate and the caramel, likely because the sugars are the number 1 and 2 ingredient. So, you know, you're really consuming such a large amount of sugar. It's hard to differentiate these pops of intensity. So when we made ours, we went back to just making a simple caramel. Like I said, sugar, whipping cream, butter, salt. And then we made a chocolate, which is just cacao, cane sugar. So really in the end, you know, we're dealing with 5 or 6 ingredients. And you get something, and excuse me for breaking this in half, watch the rest of the video and you'll see what happened. We got hungry and we wanted to eat some, selfishly. And the caramel itself does have, you know, a nice little bit of pull on it, or whatever you want to call it as well. Just even look at the color differences between these two products. Like, I am very surprised how we have come to associate this with chocolate, although it's now technically not chocolate. But this style of color, even as the milk chocolate, I believe should be more of an acceptable range. And yeah, I'm gonna go lick my fingers off. I'm probably gonna go snack on another piece or two and enjoy my afternoon, and I hope you guys do the same.